Hey everyone, and welcome to the first look of F1 Manager 2022. This game is something I didn't really want to do a first look of, but it's just way too good to not do. But without further ado, and Sebastian Vettel in our view, let's get started. Okay, first things first, the music you hear is obviously a new music that is license free, because the original F1 music you will be greeted with in the menu is something I can't offer to you because it's not allowed on the YouTube video, but I can grant you it is in and it is amazing. There are a couple of things I want to quickly talk about before we jump into my existing career. So I have made myself a bit, chill with the game already by just playing it for a couple of hours, and then I just restarted the career to get the grips of it. And I can tell you already right ahead, this game is complex. It is absolutely freaking jumping over the bar that I have set for the game, and just like by a million meters. Like, it's really good. However, there are a couple of things I will talk about that I don't really like too much at this point in time, so we're gonna have to discuss about that, how this might be changed in the future. Actually, nothing game breaking, to be honest. There are a few glitches and things here and there. Remember, it's early access for me, so with the final day release that might actually be fixed already, so take that with a grain of salt, and also take some of the graphics glitches you may see as well with a grain of salt as well. But now you want to see stuff, let's continue our career. Well, actually, before we jump into it, there's a little bit I need to tell you. First of all, I falsely say that the model they use is still the concept car model from the last year. That's not true. They did, in fact, already update all the cars to their form factor of the 2022 season. You will see the crazy Mercedes side pods, and you will also see the, green Red Bull side pods, as you can see now on screen, of the Aston Martin. So they have the current form factor, even with the installed upgrades. It's going to be interesting to see if the form of the car changes. The newer the parts are you put on it, but all the cars have the correct form, which is pretty decent, and the graphics are insane. One more thing, also a couple of things that are not fixed in yet will be fixed with the day one patch. So remember, this one is early access, and everything I had at hand was before the day one patch, so please be sure to keep an eye on that. Day one patch will be fixing a couple of things, but now let's get into the action. It's really good, I promise. Alright, so this is the dashboard that you are greeted with once you are in your game. At this point in time, we are between the first and the second race in our calendar. I chose Aston Martin to begin with. It's not really that good of an idea, I can tell you. They have the second worst car, and just by a bit. Williams is actually quicker than us in the race pace. I was just able to do a very crazy undercut in the first race to bring Sebastian Vettel to the 15th place in that race, but there were a couple of things that didn't work out as well. Anyways, I'm going to show you around what this all is about, because there's a lot to see in here. You've got a million different options down here in which you can really sort out things for the race. So first of all, on the left hand side you see the board, which is basically giving you the hint for what you have to achieve in the season or in the next race. Now, as you can see, the board confidence is medium. The confidence is always a level in how much they do trust you, and also the season objective 8th or above is pretty fair, but that also means we have to beat Haas or McLaren or AlphaTauri or any one of the others except Ferrari, Red Bull and Mercedes, which are way too powerful in this game at the current state. We have to beat them. So you've got your drivers. I'm just going to click on Vettel over here, and you can see you really do have a lot of things. So Vettel comes in with an 82 rating at the beginning, and you also have the chance to upgrade him. You can see the growth potential, unfortunately, is only average, which obviously is down to his age, obviously, and his aggression is high, which is also a good indicator on how aggressive he will be in closer battles, so that's very important. You can also go into setup, and then you can see what kind of preferences the driver has, and so you actually have to do different setups for each driver in your team, but I'm going to show this to you in the race as well. So you can also build some more things like a team hub or a race simulator, or actually a memorabilia room where you can inspire your stuff with a display of your team's history. Well, we don't really have that big of a history, have we? So a couple of things you can build, and you can do also new contracts with drivers. You can actually scout for a replacement, for example. I think, Alpine would be about to do this at this point in time if they have the management option to do so. And you can see the career stats of Sebastian Vettel right over here. The recent six seasons are in here, and you can see there are a couple of nice stats in there. It's actually crazy that he became 13th in 2020. I didn't know that it was that way, but whatever. Pretty interesting stuff. You can see a lot of things, and you can compare the driver with different drivers. So we can also go in and say Nico Hülkenberg, who is the reserve driver in this game. And I haven't found out if there is something like a virus infection or maybe like some other reasons why a driver can't compete in a race, but your reserve drivers are in the game with all the different stats, so they will be used at times. Now, one thing I wanted to talk about is the staff management, because actually, yes, we do have a staff management in here as well. And as you can see, you have different types of staff members. You've got the technical chief over here, who's Andrew Green, and you can see he's not having any development points at this point. He's got a rating of 69, but even he can get some development points over time, which is pretty cool, because then you can make this one better, and hence your production of new parts and stuff is becoming better as well. Now, one thing I really do love is you can swap the race engineers, and we will talk about the race engineers a bit more, because oh boy, have Frontier done an outstanding job over here, but more about that in a bit. Okay, one more thing I want to talk about is the financial area, and this is something more interesting than you would assume, because as you can see, there is actually the cost cap in this game, meaning you actually have to look at how much money you spend, depending on how much you have as a team. Some of the teams don't even have enough money to hit this, but you can see I have spent already quite some money on car development, and you have to really make sure that everything that you do during the year is matching the cost cap. Otherwise, you'll run out of money at the end of the year, and in the worst case, you might even end up without any parts to fit on the car, and hence not being able to compete in a race, which I think is brilliantly done, that you can even fail that way. You also have sponsorships, so you can do different types of sponsorships in front of races, and you could also just check in here and just say what they should do. You can see I've got a driver appearance for Sebastian Vettel and race weekend driver appearance for Lance Stroll. We also have merchandising in place, and I just skipped the both here, the race day factory or the factory events, because I didn't want to lose any days with this event to not be able to construct the pieces, because yes, the game is that realistic. Once you have a factory event, obviously no one can work in the factory, and you have these days, the number of days less to build in your factory, and I mean 13 days is quite some time. But yeah, that's about sponsorships. Now let's finally go to the race weekend. Alright, you can see things skipping ahead, and now you got an important email, and as you can see, there are a couple of important ones, but over here you've got Michael Loom, who's saying it's quite an exciting race for the weekend, blah blah blah, but that's not the important one. You can always see that with the little exclamation mark. There is the race prep over here, and you can see they give you some very nice information. Check out the circuit info, performance targets, car builds, blah blah blah. We just go to the race preparation. Now, in here, you can see that this is the circuit info. You can see this is the amount of tires you have available. As it is this year, every team has the same type of tires available. So in previous years, we would have also had the chance to choose which kind of compounds we want to bring, but this time around Pirelli is the ones to choose, which is good because that's at least taking one thing away. But now we have to check our performance targets in order to set how much money we might get for the weekend. Now, first of all is the qualifying position. Now, if you do click on here, you can guarantee a position by saying, I guarantee you to go into Q2. Why would you do so? Well, because this will grant you even more money as a reward. So you can see our potential loss is 22,000 if we don't match that, but the potential reward is 90,000. So I'm going to do this real quick, and then we're going to just say, okay, we confirm the changes, number of drivers, 1 is fine, 2 is fine, let's go back. Done. Okay, so we've done this, and we don't do anything about those two. They are totally fine for us, so we're gonna keep it the way it is. and we don't have anything else to do. We've got the driver overview is fine. The car parts all fitted as well. As you can see, the suspension is fitted here for Sebastian Vettel, and you can see how many parts we have left. So we just hope that he's not going to have any issues over here. You can see our engine is a little bit less with Sebastian. I needed to push a bit more in the last race, so that's why it's 1% less. ERS is the same, and gearbox is the same for both. So let's go to the weekend and have a look.
Formula One is back. Welcome to one of the fastest circuits on the calendar here at Jeddah. The Saudi Arabian Grand Prix is about to kick off, and the atmosphere here is electric. The Jeddah Street Circuit has one of the fastest average speeds, as well as the most corners of any track on the calendar. Good high-speed downforce is going to make life in the fast lane a little easier for drivers here this weekend. At this early stage in the season, there are still plenty of opportunities for things to change. In this sport, there simply are no guarantees. What will happen this weekend? Only time will tell.
Obviously, you can imagine that this all would be even more atmospheric with the actual F1 sound added to that, and I can guarantee you, you'll have that once you play the game. But now we are in, and you can see there are a couple of infos just in front of us here. You can see this is the race weekend. You can change a couple of things, but you know, that's all fine. We don't really need to do that. We've got the practice 1 ahead of us now, and we're actually going to do practice 1, and then we'll jump right into the qualifying. But I'm going to show you how exactly that's going to work. You can see again, you can maybe change some things if you want to, but I don't want to. I just want to go into the practice number 1. So first of all, this is what you are greeted by. Now, as you can see, over here you can see that both drivers have a track acclimatization of 0%, obviously because they haven't, been using that. You can see the car parts knowledge is way less on Sebastian's side because he's got new fitted parts, obviously, and his setup confidence is at a question mark because he hasn't been out on track. So you can also go in here and change a couple of things. You can say, hey, test some other compounds, please. And as you can see, we have a whole bunch of soft tires available for the race. We've got 2 mediums and we've got 1 hard available. You can see those locked ones over here are obviously for the race, so they are reserved so that we are not consuming all these tires. Since we only have 2 mediums and I might be using the mediums in the race, we just want to use 1 soft first. I think that's a good idea to do that one. And then we can also see the same tide on Lance Stroll's part. It's basically the same. However, what you can do is we can go into the car setup. And over here, we are starting with a balanced setup over here. Now, as we know, this is a freaking fast track. So what we want to do, we might actually get some more straight line speed and some, better traction we might not need, but cornering is equally important. And, so we can actually change a couple of things, and you can see those little bars change their appearance. So what we want to do over here is we want to kind of find a way where we can kind of, improve the straights, but also improve the cornering speed a little bit, which is going to be a very hard task indeed. So I'm just going to try to do that. Just, I'm trying to do a couple of things over here in order to improve the cornering and equally the speed. I'm just trying to do that. I'm gonna reduce traction a bit because we have a lot of long swooping curves and not that many hard braking zones in which we need some good traction. So I'm gonna keep it that way, and I'm gonna change the run plan and give Sebastian a couple more laps. So let's go to first practice, and you can actually go and simulate the session, which we're going to do with the second one. But I'm going to show you actually how this looks if you do it yourself. Now we just click that, and we want to confirm that we want to do that manually. Now, as we go in, you are greeted by that.
Yeah, I'm clear. Green light, green light.
And as you may have noticed, and I was actually pretty much, quiet for a moment, these are the real race engineers and the real race driver voices. I have no idea how they did this. They must have gone through a million TV kind of things or got these from F1 directly. I don't know. But I can tell you from the races I did so far, there are plenty of variations in here, which is super cool, and it feels really authentic. And with all the different designs, sound designs, actually from F1, that is pretty damn good. So over here, you can now see the time is starting. You can also make time a lot quicker. So we're gonna boost this up by 16 times, and as soon as you are quicker than 2 times, the mode will change from the graphics in here in the garage to this kind of track overview, because I assume it's too quick to render. You can see all the track position of cars, and this will become very important at a later stage. But you can also change the camera. I'm just going to go back to here. In the pit, you can't change the camera. We're going to send out Seb over here, and then you can see this little animation plays from where he's going up onto the track. And after a little time, we're going to send out Lance as well. So he's going to leave the pits right behind us. And you can see the graphics are fantastic. The sound design is brilliant. And remember, this is a management game, you know? That is not a game where you can drive yourself. This is a management game. You always have to remember that. This is just making things crazy. So you can quickly change between Seb and Lance by clicking on here. So you can see different camera angles, and you can also go into the cockpit mode if you want to. I mean, just freaking look at that. You can also then go in here, and you can see where we are right now, and you can go through the different modes over here, and you can change different things along the way. So you can even say, hey, this is Lance, click on here, and then you can say team commands, don't fight teammate, hold back cars behind. So you can actually give him some orders. The same goes about Seb, by the way. You can click on him and do the same. So you can call the car in if you want to change their running time. You can also go in here and change a kind of things like that, you know, drive in clean air, avoid curbs. So for example, if you want to tell the driver he should be cooling, you can just say that one, and then you can see, by the way, there was like a little, you know, now our race engineer is telling him to avoid driving in dirty air if you can, and Vettel is answering like gotcha. Okay, there you go. We could also say avoid curbs, but we don't do that right now because we want him, you know, to be doing his stuff, what he can do best. So, and there you can see now he's running on the track, and you can see the track acclimatization is going to go higher over here. So basically what we have done, as you can see over here with the length of the stint he's doing, we're basically maximizing the potential of this very session over here, because over here this starts to drop off, so we don't really learn much more and we don't acclimatize more. If we do that for Lance, for example, you can see this is not going as high because he's not having that high of a stint. But if you want to change the camera, here you can see he should be now behind Seb. By the way, we can also switch through the cameras if you want to see that as well. And obviously I'm running ultra graphics, by the way, in case I haven't said, and you can see it is looking super awesome. It's always remaining in the camera you chose, and you can also always switch back to this view over here if you want to see where your drivers are at on the map. So you click here, you're back on this one. So there's a whole bunch of stuff you can do. If I do say to Seb now, okay, you know what, I want you to go a little bit less aggressive here because your tires are getting too hot, you can say, okay, go into standard mix, and then he's going to switch to the standard and being less aggressive. The same goes for the fuel mixture. You can also go on conserve to, you know, conserve some fuel, and the ERS mode is the same. You can go to harvest and stuff, but the thing about being in a practice session over here, we don't really need that. The last couple of races I really did not pay too much attention on practice, and that really hit me hard in qualifying. We were nowhere near the pace. As you can see, this car is freaking slow. Lance actually going a little bit quicker than us, which is pretty interesting regarding the fact that he's not even on aggressive mode and he's running the old parts. So maybe that's going to be a little hint on the fact that the new parts are not that great. But we'll see. They will keep running. Oh no, by the way, Seb has a lot more. By the way, we've got a lovely yellow flag over here to show you. And our team orders were just sent out to Stroll that someone ran wide. In the race, you will actually get replay options to check out what happened, which is really, really cool as well. We might be able to see that. So that's that. And also Seb is slower because he's running a lot more fuel, by the way. I forgot about that, but he's nearly having double the weight. So yeah, the time is a lot more value than the one that Lance did. So in that case, everything is nice. But now let's just speed up the process and we want to see what happens.
Get back off. Copy.
And there you can see every now and then you can actually hear the team radio, which is pretty nice. So it's not all the time, but sometimes it is. So now Lance is getting a bit in traffic. I want to tell him that he's not gonna fight the people behind. So I think I can just don't fight teammate. Okay, hold cars behind. I think this is only for the race. I thought there was also an option to let them pass. Yeah, no, I think this is one of the things that I was missing quite in the game quite yet. So you can only tell them to the teammate, but not to the other cars behind. Now, actually, I would love to tell him, hey mate, just don't fight them, you know, just leave them go. And I think that would be good. Also, pretty interesting, Seb has now gotten faster than Lance, even with more fuel on board, which is pretty interesting. So yeah, as you can see, the driving is a little bit weird here and there, especially when it comes to overtaking. But again, granted, this is a management game. It is still pretty impressive indeed how they pulled that off so far, and maybe in the future they will even be able to improve that. But you know, you can obviously not expect the same kind of race action as you would see in a fully fledged racing simulator game. However, let's skip forward. Alright, so we got a call from Lance Stroll in the meantime that he is super unhappy with the car. As you can see, driver's confidence is at 3%, which is really not good. So we have to adjust things, and I wanted to quickly show you exactly this. Now, we have all the toggles available over here. I called him in, and now we can adjust a couple of things to make these little hints go into the blue area for him. So as you can see over here, this is what we do. Now, one thing obviously is that we have a bit of an issue with the straight line speed. So at this point in time, we can only do this, and you can see things are getting better. Over here, we bring this thing even better into what Lance likes the most, and so this is the best way to, you know, get him into a bit more confident level. So I really hope that this is really good. So run plan is all good. We're gonna go and give him some additional laps so that we can also go out. Nice one. And we also need to fit some other tires because they are too worn. As you can see, you need at least a tire compound with at least 18 laps of usage left. I wonder if I can just, yeah, let's go down to, yeah, like a 7 lap stint, say confirm. Then you can see things are reconfiguring. This is taking a little bit of time because we did quite some changes. We've got over half an hour left, so we can just speed forward. All right, so we do have the free practice results, and as you can see, we ended up 17th and 18th. This is why I said Q2 will be very hard indeed, especially because we've been on the soft tires all day long. But you can see this time around I did a lot more laps than I did recently to gain more experience about what we've done. And if we do click continue, you can see there is all of your stats available for you. So first of all, one thing that is really good is we have a way better track acclimatization level now with 21% and 70% for Lance because he did some less laps. And also the car parts knowledge for Sebastian did raise, same is for Mr. Stroll as well. The setup confidence is not quite there yet because obviously we haven't had enough laps to put in. So we do continue and we go into practice 2 now. Now I'm gonna go and do simulate that. But first of all, you can see the car setup is still at a range. You can see Seb is still not happy with the oversteer. So we might do some more adjustments to get that into the middle. And you know, just trying to give him a little bit more of an option to play with. Yeah, not sure what I should say. He's been on great last time, but maybe that would have been a little bit too much. Maybe we're gonna give him a bit more this time around. Yeah, trying to do it that way. I'm really not sure if that makes sense. So the current is better. Let's try doing that one. And I'm going to give him a lot more laps this time around. So I'm going to do 25-ish laps. The compound is going to be medium. So that's all good. And then I'm going to go for Lance. I'm going to check the setup confidence as well. So I'm going to go here. You can see everything is bad, but now it's checking to optimal, good. These two haven't been tested. So I think we're going to, you know, stay with that. We're going to give him on to these ones as well. Give him a lot more laps to play with, and then go back and both cars are ready. Go to practice 2, and we're going to let our staff simulate this session. So we are actually going to simulate all the way to qualifying to see what we can do, and the game is doing its best to simulate that, but I'm guessing it would always be better to do that manually, but since we want to see something, let's just do that. Yes. So that was quite quick, and now you can see all the results from your drivers in a little summary before the qualifier.
Drivers will no doubt be constantly pushing to secure a good starting place in tomorrow's race.
Alright, so we do have an overview of the FP3 test results, and as you can see, we ended up in 17th and 18th yet again, being well ahead of the 2 Williams, but way off the pace of everyone else. So I guess our maximum has to be 17th and 18th. Seb being nearly the same pace as Lance is also not a good sign, because that means our new part is not as powerful as it should be. So let's continue and see what we can do. Now, setup confidence from Seb is actually pretty good. The one from Lance could be better, and car parts knowledge is not quite there yet, but maybe we can change a couple of things. But we are in Parc Fermé rules right now, so we can't really change that much. So I guess we just continue the whole thing and go up into this one. Not sure if we can change a couple of things over here. Yeah, okay, we can try to bring this back into the areas if there is a chance for us to bring them back in. So that might give the driver a lot more confidence. So this is actually how you narrow the things down. I think I like the system quite a bit. Yeah, I think we can't get the traction where we need to have it. Let's see if we can. Yeah, I think we have to go then for a lot less straight speed. But it's actually a lot better than it was before. So yeah, let's see if we can bring this all. This is like a good window in which we are. So we have everyone in a window, which is good. So let's see how we can do this. Everything else is done nicely, and now let's try to do the same for Lance. As you can see over here, we narrowed down. Look at that. We have actually a good couple of things in here, but we need to bring. Alright, this is going to be a little bit more hard for Lance, but manageable. Can we just... Yeah, this is neat. Oh my god, look at this. Look at the straights though. This is like nowhere near the pace. Oh my god, look at that. For Lance, we actually hit every window. Huh, maybe that's gonna work. Okay, well, we've done that. So let's go and start the qualifying. I'm not sure if it helps to change the setup before qualifying. Usually it doesn't, but we'll see how that works. And yeah, we just let the simulate the session because we need to skip ahead and do the race, you know? So let's just do that. Yes, I want to. And I'm guessing we're both out at this point. Yes, so 17th and 18th, just as I said, these were the positions we could do. There's not really that much I could have changed with the settings. Let's just quickly see how much we were off the pace. So yeah, that's pretty much nearly a second. Our drivers were very much close together. Still pretty nice ahead of the Williams, but that's basically where we end the race. I'm still confused how I ended up 15th in the last race. I did a very aggressive tactics, but you can actually see how that works out now.
On target for qualifying. Now it's up to them to defy expectations for the race itself. Haas proved quite resourceful during qualifying. That puts them in a very good position to make the most of this race start. And clouds are stretching across the sky tonight, which means that teams and drivers alike will be nervously watching the weather radar.
Well, the streets of Jeddah are abuzz, and the teams are nearly ready for the start of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix.
Alright, now it's time to start the race. And you can see this is where we are, and unfortunately it seems like I have destroyed Seb's setup before the race. Obviously we can't change anything except the front wing, so we might actually do that to bring him actually in a better window. I'm not sure if that makes any sense, but hopefully that's going to do things a little better. You know, this is just all trial and error, and I think this is really good. Lance levels is pretty good, so that's pretty good. But now we have to manage the strategy. So at the beginning, you don't have a strategy option, but then it shows you what the best options are. So A, B, and C is like A is the safest, B is a bit more of an aggressive one, and C is basically an alternative one. So I guess because we are starting all the way to the back of the grid, there's not much to gain for us at the beginning. The Williams will be pretty aggressive at the beginning, but everyone else is then doing something else. So we can go to setting, I think we're just gonna start on the mediums, I guess, and then we go to the hard, or we will alter the strategy. And simply, as I'm a fan of doing some different things, I'm just gonna put Lance, or even though no, Lance is behind us, so we should swap those two. Actually, no, we're gonna do the same, and then we might be able to react during the race.
There's a very overcast night in store for the drivers, who are now lined up on the grid. And there's Sebastian Vettel. They're in the back half of the pack, so they'll need to work hard if they want a podium finish. There's Lance Stroll, down the grid. They'll be starting the race from the bottom half of the grid, so there's a fair bit of ground to make up. The teams are ready to go. It's almost time for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go.
All right, so we are in the race, and the good thing about this is you have full control over the race now, and there is a lot going on right now. So you've got both drivers at your hand, and basically at one glance you can just skip over to Lance and you can see he's basically the inside of us, so maybe he's even jumping us. Now what we could do over here now is tell him to don't fight teammate real quick over here, so to make sure that this is going to be what we do. And we can also tell him to hold the cars behind, and then we could go to Seb and say, you know what, first lap, be a bit more aggressive and just push. Okay, so that's the first thing we do. We're gonna tell Lance as well to push. The good thing is you can hit pause to just do these things, which in the first minute I thought was a bad decision because it all has to be in real time. Oh boy, but it's just not possible. It's just really crazy. So you can see how a real engineer feels. So if you want to have that simulation, you basically never touch that button, and that's going to be a full-on 2 hours race for you. So yeah, one thing I wanted to mention real quick is at the beginning of the race, you might have heard a couple of comments about starting at the back of the field and then making up a lot of ground to get to the podium. This obviously is a little bit weird. You hear that nearly every race, and you know, it would be nice if they have a bit more adjusted to the performance of the actual cars. That would be nice. But let's resume the race action. So you can see Lance actually did back off really nicely, which I like. It's really, really good. I wonder though if this option only helps if, you know, the driver is next to each other or are next to each other, or if you can actually tell Sebastian to let Lance through later on, or the other way around. Now I'm not sure if Lance needs to defend over here, not quite yet. DRS is also not enabled quite yet, so this is why things are the way they are. Let's jump over to Seb and see if he can connect to the front. So we could also give him a little bit of ERS at this point to, you know, stay to the back of the field, just to make sure that we, you know, don't lose the connection of the field at this point, because at the beginning it's really, really hard to, you know, stick with them. And so this is why I'm trying to, you know, just let him use a bit of his ERS over here to just stay very much close behind the rivals. But as you can see, the pace that the other cars have is just ridiculous. There's so much more straight line speed, there's so much more cornering speed, and everything is just like really hard to stick to them. But yeah, you can see things are working out not too shabby over here. We are still behind them We are still on target with fuel because we are still there. We're using a little bit too much of our ERS at this point, so I'm gonna go to neutral again. Because we are at the back of the pack, and it's totally fine to just use the slipstream and DRS as soon as it's there, but we just have to keep an eye on you know, sticking to the front. So if I'm going to go get rid of it, so you can see we are 0.5 behind Daniel Ricciardo, which is going to help us to stick with them. Lance is a little bit fallen behind, so we can tell him to deploy a bit of ERS as well and go into aggressive mode. Is Seb aggressive? He is. So that's nice, and this is the way how you manage at the beginning. The pit windows and stuff, they'll come in, you know, into play later. So you can see over here, you can see when you can also change the pit options if you want to. The game is pausing automatically, but we are not in for that quite yet. And you have some driver options over here. You can see lap times, you can see telemetry data and everything that you need, but I'm gonna stick it to this one over here, and I'm gonna get back to you as soon as we have done a couple of things in this race. Alright, we are in lap number 4, so just 2 laps further in, and as you can see, Seb is still holding pretty nicely behind Daniel Ricciardo. Unfortunately though, I wasn't able to get Lance closer to them. As you can see, he's having a lot less fuel available, and he's also having a lot less ERS, because I wanted to get him closer to Seb badly, because I put him back into balance as well as neutral, and told him to be just standard or like a little bit aggressive over here. At this point we're managing the tires on Seb's side pretty well. On Lance's side though, the same, but he's really not coping that well with the speed. Actually, the problem over here is that you can see we have the Williams stuck behind us in our very own DRS train that we are leading. So I'm just thinking about how I could change that. I mean, they are both on the soft compound, so we might actually be in for the better strategy over here. Seb is sitting rather comfortably in the DRS train right now. This might also be the reason why he's so much quicker, but well, that's the only thing we can do. Now we might actually run into some issues over here from the Williams behind. Yeah, as I said, they're on soft compound, so maybe if we can hold them up for a couple more laps, they will drop off themselves, or in any case, they can't go that long in the first stint, and so maybe we will have the edge then later on in this race. But yeah, as you can see, it's very crucial to stick behind other cars. As you can see, Seb is there. Also, what's going on there? Maybe we are just in the action. Let's have a look. Oh my god, I'm gonna give him full attack mode and push and deploy all the ERS. We are just behind them. I'm gonna have to challenge that now, because it seems like there was an overtake going and we have the edge to just get for a move. Let's see if we can do something over here now as the Haas's in front of us do some shenanigans and some stuff over here. We have to see what they do. It's really nice, you know, how you can manage that. You see the opportunity, you go for it, try to be as precise as possible. Let's even go into overtake mode here. Just see if we can ever so slightly make it to them, and then maybe go for an overtake, even though everyone is having DRS at this point in time. But passing would be really crucial at this point to be really in that DRS train. Can we make it? Can we do it? I'm not sure. They're all on hard tires, by the way, so also they will pit quite later than us. So yeah, I'm not using too much of it then. You know what, I'm just gonna go back into neutral, tell Seb to be less and just balance, because we're so close behind. Let's just try to, you know, Lance did lose a position. Yeah, maybe we can just stick a little bit in the DRS then of Albon. Let's have a look. This is now what I wanted to show you. There is the overtake on Lance. Oh my god, that looked actually pretty decent, to be honest. That looked not too shabby. Not at all. I mean, look at that. It really is good. It's really good looking. But I think at this point, we might just skip ahead in this race quite dramatically to show you what else is on the table. Alright, so we've had a very decent race so far with Sebastian Vettel. As you can see, he jumped Tsunoda because there was a lot of stuff going on. He was briefly even up to P13, but we couldn't match the pace towards the end of the stint. Lance Stroll is having a horrible race so far, so I'm gonna talk about him next. But we are now into the pit windows, as you can see over here, and now you can change certain things for Seb and the others. So he's gonna go to the hard tire, and actually the problem is that I wanted to maybe do a little bit something different now, to just change to the soft and then run with the medium towards the end. The problem then is that we need to have make up for a pit stop. So what I'm doing exactly is I'm going to go for the hard, just as the strategy supposes to do. And so we are just going to do that. Now he's passing one more time, and you can see this was the optimum point over here, but we are going to say next round he's gonna go pit window in next. This is good, so it's all active, so he's gonna pit now. This is pretty good, and everything is nice, everything is fine. We have set pit in this lap, so everything is good. Actually, did I do this? Okay, we go to the hard, so I'm just gonna say pit this lap. There you go. And the same goes for Lance. Pit options, we're gonna go to the hard, and we're gonna say pit this lap. So this is pretty much what we need, and there's also so much speed between both. Oh my god, what is happening with Bottas? This just happened now. Let's have a look. Look at that, he just locked up and went fully toward, oh my god, the front wing just went nowhere. Okay, let's speed up to the pit stop, so that we can see Seb going into the pits then. He should be the first one to cross and actually pit the car, and we should also not run into issues because of a double stack or something, because Seb is so much ahead of him. So you can see this is the pit stop now going on. I quite like the camera angles and stuff, it's looking pretty decent. So we are just going to have a little look on how Aston Martin is actually coping with the pit stop. There you go, tires on, tires off, there you go. The other way around, by the way. It was a good, very good pit stop. Mate, 2.8, that was a brilliant pit stop. Let's see what Lance crew can do. So we are in here in a second, and then we will have a look how this one is going to work out. So Seb came out ahead of Latifi. I guess he hasn't even pitted yet, so we are even ahead of Latifi, even though he hasn't pitted, which is at least decent enough for that. But there is no one else. That was a bit weird one, but it worked out. So 2.89, same time, actually pretty decent lap times. So yeah, actually I can jump in here with you guys in lap number 31 of 50. And at this point for us, the race has become super boring. Lance just closed up to the back of Albon. He's about to overtake Albon and then makes maybe his way also up to Latifi because he's just so much quicker. We can also just watch that replay to have a look how Lance did this. There you go, going to the inside on the last corner, not giving him DRS, actually pretty clever over here. Lance is keeping DRS because he's been at the better point. There you go. But as you can see, Seb is basically in no man's land. He's like 10 seconds off the pace of Ricciardo. Unfortunately, I was hoping we would have been a little bit closer to the McLarens, but we were just like 3 seconds behind them.
Carlos Sainz takes the win.
Without doubt, a stellar performance. Something that'll be seen as a real highlight this season.
So yeah, as you have seen, Carlos Sainz has won the race. He's been very, very much last second in front of Charles Leclerc. Very close together, two Ferraris. As you can see, they're only separated by a 1/10 of a second over the line. And well, we've been very much far off anything else. Seb is crossing line now. So yeah, that's the race result. 1 minute remaining until everyone should have crossed the line. I'm just going to skip forward because, well, there's not really that much more to say. Race is over. Boom, there you go. And this is then the ceremony that you're greeted with. Seb seems not to be very happy. He's going to throwing out. And again, wrong comment, but yeah. So let's skip that and see the final result and do our little verdict over here. Now, Carlos Sainz won the race. As you can see, everything is pretty much in his hands. 26 points, even did the fastest lap as well. Charles is just like a 10th behind, and this is where we were. We can also just check our drivers where we were, but there's also so much more. You can also go into the data view and then see who has been quickest from both of our drivers. Seb has been a lot quicker than Lance, actually. And, checking the best lap times, though, we were nowhere in the mix with the others. Yes, they have done this on the medium. Still, there's no chance to be even that closer to them. What was the winning strategy? I think it was medium to hard as well. But yeah, so This game is ridiculous, but there are a couple of things I want to mention. So first of all, the amount of time you have to spend for one race is ridiculous. So this video you're watching right now took me over 2.5 hours to composite. I hope I can boil this down in like 40 minutes or something. And there are a lot of things that need some explanation, and it's really hard to get into, but once you have the grip of it, it is phenomenal. I will actually keep my eyes on this game. We will have a lot of fun playing this in stream every now and then. And as you know, I'm a huge fan of Formula 1. I will try to see what happens also with the cars, if they develop. I saw some minor changes, so maybe the models are not all the same, as I said earlier in today's video. So maybe there is something about this. But other than that, this game is very promising. Way better than expected. I'm not quite ready for a full review right now. As I said, there are a couple of little things. So for example, to tell drivers that they should, let the other car pass, for example, and not only the teammate would be nice. It would be also nice to have a bit of a better balance when it comes to the comments, because, obviously Aston Martin is not going to go to the front. And the balancing of the cars seems to be a little bit off. I mean, we know that cars are far off the pace of the leaders, but, being that far away with Aston Martin was a bit surprising, to be honest. But yeah, other than that, the options and the ingredients on the table are ridiculous. I am so much looking forward to experiencing more of this game. Maybe not on the channel, depends a little bit on your feedback, but most certainly on stream. Thank you so much for watching. This has been the early preview and first look at F1 Manager 2022. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy, I always am happy about a like or a subscribe to the channel, and let me know your feedback down below in the comments. Have a good one, and goodbye.